Welcome, everyone. My name is Brian Belay, founder of crowdwise.org, where we provide educational resources and tools for crowdfunding investors. Today, I'm very excited to be chatting with not one, but two co-founders and co-CEOs. We have Rosemary and Ted O'Neill of NRVE. So welcome to both of you. And to get things started, why don't you give us at a high level, kind of a high level overview of what NRVE is and introduce yourselves.
Hi, and thanks for having us on, Brian. It's great to be here. I'm Rosemary O'Neill, and NRVE is a brand new approach to content. We are flipping the script, putting the members in charge and giving them 85% of the revenue for their participation and their content in the platform. We are trying to solve some really chunky issues out there right now of censorship and creators not being rewarded for their hard work, et cetera, fake news. We could go on all day. So we're moving some big rocks.
And I'm Ted O'Neill. I'm co-CEO as well. Also, Rosemary and I launched another company called Social Strata about 20 years ago. So we've been working together for quite some time.
Awesome. Yeah, so if you don't mind, before we get too much kind of into the NRVE content platform itself, can you give us a little bit more just about your background? So it sounds like you had launched another previous endeavor, Rosemary, and where are you two coming from?
Yeah, Ted and I have actually been working together in the online community technology space for the last couple of decades, not to age ourselves, but we've been to this rodeo for a really long time, and I think it's given us a really good grounding in the way humans behave online and how content works and how it circulates online and human behavior most of all. And because of what we're doing now, I think that's really given us a good pathway in. And the fact that we've been doing this as a married couple, but as colleagues for so long, we have a natural way of working together that I think makes us successful.
Yeah, and that company builds technology platforms, consumer-facing platforms. So a lot of the lessons we learned over the years were actually what inspired us to create the NRVE platform itself. So really everything we're doing with NRVE reflects kind of 20 years of experience dealing with these real communities across the world.
That's great. Yeah, that was going to be one of the questions is kind of how you came upon the idea, but maybe could you also talk a little bit about your team today? So what is the team that's working behind the scenes on NRVE? What do they look like?
Yes, we've got about 10 people right now on NRVE. Our CTO is actually the same CTO we had at Social Strata. We've been working with him for almost 15 years as well. So again, he also has a really strong background building really scalable online platforms as well. We've got three other developers. We've got a CEO. The COO is actually the former CIO for the. Go ahead.
She was the CIO for the US government. She was a political appointee. So we really felt that regulatory compliance was going to come into play at some point in a big way, and especially with the privacy regulations and data protection and all of that. She has a great grounding in all of that. She happens to be Ted's sister as well, but we probably would have chosen her even if she weren't. And we all work together really well.
But we're not all O'Neills, so.
Yeah, we do have non-O'Neills on the board.
Yeah, that's great. So let's get in a little bit more to the platform itself. Can you tell us, you mentioned it's a little bit more for the producers of the content, right? That they're getting a bit more of the share. Can you talk about what some of the differentiation is from some of the other platforms out there and some of the things that make it unique?
Yeah, we do know that there are a lot of places out there. If you want to write and post content, there are a ton of places you can do that. So it's really important for us to stake out our place in the world, if you will. So if you look at a platform that's really popular like Medium, we've seen them struggle in the past with how they're going to monetize it and changing their model over and over again, trying to find that sweet spot. It's fun, it's beautiful to post there, but right now when I go to look at things that people send me, I hit the paywall. Sometimes I don't. It's very unpredictable. It's a very non-transparent process, even for the authors. So there's a lot of frustration there. And then we look at something else like Reddit, which, because it's subject-based, some people kind of liken us to like a Reddit because of our niche system, which are the subject areas. they also have been kind of trying to figure out their monetization and how they can do governance in a way that makes sense. So where we fit into the universe is we feel that we have figured out the best of both worlds with our transparency, with member governance, so we're not in a back room making content decisions, and then also the ability to get rewarded yourself for the content you're posting. So it's not us trying to set up a paywall, it's actually the people creating the content who are reaping the rewards.
Yeah, and a big part of it, really, we've called this since early on a content economy. So it's really about creating a sustainable economy around content that really hasn't been done before. So let's not focus on one business model that may or may not work, whether it's a paywall or premium membership or ads. Let's create a system that we know is going to incentivize all the participants in the network to do the right thing and to be rewarded. So want to make sure that, so the first thing from the very, very beginning, the first thing we said is, we as a company will only take 15% of the revenue ever. That means that we have to stay within our lane. We want to make sure that the majority of the rewards go out to the people who are actually doing the work, the producers, the moderators, the reviewers, the people just even consuming the content, because really the network is nothing without them. And that's kind of the flip on the model that you see in other systems right now. So for us, it's really about creating this economy. How can we get this thing to work for all the actors in this network? And we'll just take our sort of fair share, but it's always going to be limited to that 15%, so we never overreach our bounds.
Oh, that's great. So maybe we could take a quick 30 seconds and just walk us through the actual process. Let's assume that I'm someone that wants to produce content on your platform. I sign up. What does that look like? Can I generate anything from a blog to a video? How do I get paid? How does that work?
Well, 30 seconds, that's...
Okay, we can take a little more than 30 seconds.
Just kidding. The way I like to look at it is that we have these kind of circles of involvement. So at a very basic, simple level, you could come to the platform and you could be interested in fly fishing, and you could come to the fly fishing niche and read all the great content and enjoy it, and that's it, right? And enjoy what you're doing. If you want to, you could also click the post button and you can post fly fishing content or any other type of content. Whenever you post something, you get to tag it to up to 3 niches, which is what we're calling the subject areas. Similar to in Medium, the way you tag your content. And then what that does in narrative is it makes it visible beyond people who may be following you. It's visible to people who are following those niches as well. So we're amplifying the power of your content across the platform. Beyond that, if you want to, you can do other things to get involved in governing the platform. We talked about that. You could be a moderator. You could choose to purchase a niche. If you actually own the fly fishing niche, you get rewarded based on the popularity of the content that's in your niche. So you could go recruit some famous fly fishermen to post content in there and really build value in the niche over time. You're almost like a club promoter is the way I like to describe it. You could also go really into it in deep and become a member of the tribunal, which is kind of like our Supreme Court, because we know everything's not always utopia. There has to be a way to resolve issues and challenges in the platform. But day one, sit down, write something and see what happens.
Or just consume the content.
Yeah.
So maybe we can talk a little bit in terms of how these producers are getting paid, because I think you guys have something that is the NRVE token, right? So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we use a cryptocurrency as the currency for the platform. So all the money coming in, all the money going out is basically valued in this cryptocurrency, which we call NRVE. It's a NEP5 token on the NEO blockchain. So not to get too technical with people maybe who aren't familiar with cryptocurrency, but it's a flavor of blockchain cryptocurrency that we happen to be piggybacking on the back of. So you don't really have to have any expertise, though, to use our system in terms of purchasing a niche, let's say. We want to make sure that even people who are not crypto friendly can get in and use the system. So if I want to purchase a subject area like a niche, like Rosemary said, I can actually use a credit card to do it. On the back end, we're going to take those dollars and we're going to convert them to the cryptocurrency so that we can store that in our reward system, basically. So we have everything in this NRVE cryptocurrency in terms of how we're accounting for it. And the good thing about that is then it's very transparent. Everybody can see all these transactions on the blockchain. It's immutable. We can't be being fuzzy with the numbers at all. So you can be sure that if we're paying out 1,000 NRV or whatever, 1,000 NRV came in, that sort of a thing. So that was really critical for us. If we're going to have this transparent system, using cryptocurrency really preserves that trust, because it can be a trustless system. So anyway, we're using NRV. It's a NEO-based cryptocurrency. You can buy and sell it on exchanges too for other cryptocurrencies, or for things like US dollars or other currencies as well.
Awesome. And how have you guys found, the adoption of that? Was it pretty easy to roll out and users of the platform figured it out pretty quickly, you think?
Well, we like to make it as simple as possible within the platform, because we know our audience includes a lot of non-crypto people. And
right.
Honestly, we think we're going to help with adoption over time. We describe it almost like your Amex reward points or frequent flyer miles. The number is going to accumulate as reward points in your balance. You may never even care about it. You can just come and read and write content and never even care that there's that accumulation happening. Or you could go in there and buy a cow. We actually had a member like a week and a half ago say that they had redeemed their rewards, which you can do, turned it into fiat currency, and bought a cow for his family, which, we chuckle, but that's something life-changing for people. So it really, to me, that hit me in the heart. Like, this is a real thing that's really doing something for people.
That's fantastic. No, that's great. And I think you've given us a fantastic overview of the platform, have a much better kind of feel for that. Maybe we can transition a little bit into the business side now. So let's start out, in terms of your user base today, what does that look like in terms of number of users and maybe the splits between, say, the consumers and the producers that you see on your platform?
Yeah, we're still in beta. I should point that out too. So we launched to the public April 2nd of this year.
As a soft launch.
As a soft launch.
Yeah.
And also we're currently because we're in beta, we're in sort of word of mouth phase. We're not putting any paid ads out behind it yet, because we still have some major components coming in the roadmap. But we're really excited at this point. We already have more than 8,500 members in the platform. We have 3,500 niches that have been purchased and have niche owners. And the cool thing about that is that was really proof that people understand the concept and they want to put cold hard cash on the table to actually buy these niches. We're seeing some really good growth with the posting, 53% growth in the last month of the quantity of posts that are in the platform. So that's looking really good. And I think every time we put out the monthly rewards, it only makes that growth stronger, because people see this is a real mechanism that's really working and the rewards are real. And we hear more stories about the cow, et cetera. I think the economics of this are going to be more readily visible to people, and that word of mouth will only grow.
Great.
Oh, sorry, meant to cover the number of consumers versus posters. We're looking at right now about 7% of our members are actually posting content at this moment.
Okay.
Which is a pretty good, strong number.
Yeah. And now, do you have an app for this as well, or is it just based on the website today? Do you have plans to create an app, or what does that look like?
Yeah, currently we just have the website. So we do have plans to have mobile apps, iOS and Android in the future. It's just a little bit farther down on our roadmap right now. So we've got, as Rosemary said, we have a bunch of major features we have to sort of knock off to sort of fulfill the initial vision for the platform. Once we get those done, we'll definitely get to the mobile app, because even I'd say at least 50% of our users right now are mobile. So it's really important that we have a really good, it works fine via your phone. It's just not a mobile app. So
okay,
that's a priority for the future.
Great. So sounds like then you did a soft launch, you're in beta right now. What's your timeline look like in terms of rolling out? And then what are your initial plans, for starting to generate revenues?
Well, as Rosemary said, we actually are generating revenue. So we have these niches. It's an auction system. The niche thing is really unique to Narrative too. We sort of touched on it, but it's kind of cool because basically any person can sort of take ownership of a subject area. And it could be a small subject area, it could be a huge one. You could own sports. You could also own one sports team in terms of the subject matter. You could even own one aspect of something. It just has to be a unique subject, but it could be, a sub-subject of another one. As long as it's unique in its own right, you can own it. So we've seen a lot of interest in that. Now, whether you're going to become a millionaire because you own, the basket weaving niche, who knows? So a lot of it's pride. A lot of it is hopefully you get a little bit of your money back and maybe make a little bit more. But a lot of it is just kind of taking pride and ownership of these subjects and having some say in terms of, I have this stake in the map, basically, a narrative. So we've already sold, as she said, 3,500 of these niches. It's an auction system. We charge a minimum of $75. We've seen some go for thousands of dollars on the system too. So it's been really impressive to see how the interest in some of these subjects that we have. Aside from that, we're launching publications as a major feature soon. And that's going to be a branded way to have your own space with a narrative. Currently, the channels that you have are just personal spaces. So you post content that's kind of associated with your profile and the niches you associate the content with. Publications will allow you to determine who your writers are for your space within narrative. You can brand it with your own name. You can determine who the editors are as well. So it's more like a controlled editorial branded space with a narrative. And we'll charge fees for those publication pages as well. We're looking to launch that within the next month or so, I'd say. So publications will be a major revenue piece for narrative. Also in the future, advertising will be a big piece too. We're going to do advertising in a very pro-consumer way as well.
Contextual rather than behavioral targeting.
Right.
Okay.
And we're also
is that part of the revenue share as well with these content producers? Do they share in the ad revenues?
Yep, exactly. All the revenue that comes in is always shared.
Okay.
With one exception. So the other exception is going to be, we want to support premium memberships for publications in the future too, because a lot of publications have huge audiences. They want to be able to monetize those in their own. So if you want to have optionally premium memberships for your publication with a narrative, you can, and you're going to get the majority of that revenue. You're not going to, we haven't finalized the exact details of that, but there could be some small piece that goes into rewards, but for something like that, you should get the majority of the revenue you're getting for that. So we're probably talking about 90% of the revenue you keep for your premium membership. So those are kind of the big key pieces we have from a revenue standpoint. And even though we're only taking 15% for our company, we see that as this network grows over time, that 15% will be worth quite a bit.
Okay. So I think if I heard you correctly, you said you're not doing paid ads today. Is that correct?
Correct.
Not yet.
So what, assuming that these launches go well, what's kind of your path to market? How are you planning on spreading this and getting the word out to consumers to come onto your platform versus, some of the other competitors that are out there?
Yeah, we see awareness as being one of our big challenges that we're tackling. So we've tried to build the platform with some built-in mechanisms and incentives so that we can leverage. We know that we're looking at things over the long term. We're not looking for just a quick hit hockey stick, then everyone goes away. We don't want fake users and bots. So one thing we've built into the platform itself is this niche ownership idea, because those people by their nature are incentivized to promote the platform, literally. So that mechanism we see as being part of our flywheel, and we're already seeing that working. We're doing some initiatives already, some campaigns to take advantage of subject matter experts who might be a natural fit for an existing niche in narrative, and kind of reaching out to them through social from some of the other platforms where they may be writing in obscurity or writing without getting paid, to kind of say, hey, come on over to narrative. So that's really a big chunk. We also have plans in the future to do a referral program, like a member get member operation, and that's coming. We already did kind of a test run of that in our initial phases that was really successful. And I think we were doing like a 10-cent cost per acquisition for that, which is amazing. And then also, of course, we will be running paid ads, as everyone does. We also did a test run of that across a lot of the social networks in early days, and we saw great return for that as well. We're predicting about a little less than $5 blended CPA in the future projected. So I think we've got some good foundations, stakes in the ground to build on. But this is definitely going to be a grassroots word of mouth exercise until the platform comes out of beta, probably.
Okay. And maybe now we can transition a little bit to talk just a little more about the competitive landscape. So I think you mentioned perhaps Medium, but who are some of your other potential competitors, and what are some of the things that really differentiates your product from them?
Well, I'd say the closest thing right now, at least in the crypto world, is this platform called Steemit. It is blockchain-based social content platform, and they've been around for several years. They've got sky-high market value, but riddled with bots. One of their key aspects is that people who got in really early are called whales. And they have a lot of control within the platform. And if you come in new right now, you're called a plankton. And I don't want to be called a plankton. I don't know about you, but so, they actually pioneered a lot of great things. It was a great idea. But I feel like what we're doing is much more appealing to the non-crypto crowd. We've simplified things. They have multiple wallets, and it's very difficult to get in as a new person. So I would say, possibly a comparable and inspiration, but I think we've really nailed the reputation system and the quality mechanism a lot better. And of course, I mentioned Reddit. Because they have the subreddits and the subject areas, I think that actually has a correlation to us. And they're like the number 6 site on the internet right now. So when people come to me and say, are people interested in, do they want to see what they're interested in? I'm like, yes, they do, as a matter of fact. So when you kind of get the algorithms out of the way, I think that Reddit has demonstrated there's a hunger out there for hanging out with your people who are interested in the same thing.
Okay. And so when you mention other things like Steemit and Reddit, that sort of thing too, maybe we can talk real briefly about the target market. Like, how big do you guys see this could become if you really get, your ideal customers in this space?
Well, you always want to be playing in large industries when you're tackling this type of challenge. And, digital publishing is like an $8.6 billion opportunity. We also know that the ad spend over the next year is going to go up to close to $400 billion. So we know as a source of revenue, that's definitely a big pool to be fishing in. In terms of the persona that we're looking at, we feel really strongly that there is this vast untapped group out there who is not the Martha Stewart of the world, media conglomerate, but also not just one person in the basement. This person who has a need or a business desire to publish content, and they're having a hard time getting seen and getting heard by their audience. So by connecting that middle tier of blogger, content producer directly to their audience and giving them a way to amplify their messages, we feel like that opportunity is massive. The desire to create and write and be seen is not a trendy thing that's going to go away. That's something that's been around since the dawn of time. So it's a solid opportunity with a vast, vast marketplace out there.
That's a great background. And maybe one of my last questions, but for investors who are potentially looking to invest, what are either some potential exit opportunities that you're considering, or sometimes it's good to just know, where are the founders in terms of their mindset? Are you guys looking to really make this the next large social platform? Are you maybe looking to, partner with other platforms out there? Kind of what are your potential thoughts around that?
Yeah, we have pretty big plans. So we've talked about this mainly as being almost like a blogging type a platform right now, but we see this model, again, going back to the content economy part, being just a huge platform for any piece of content, really. Once we get this nailed from a business model standpoint, where we're incentivizing all these actors in the system, the producers, the moderators, the consumers, everybody, getting their fair share of their contributions, we feel like this can scale into all the other types of content pretty easily. And the nice thing is this niche model we're developing, this subject matter model, also scales really well across all of the content types. So imagine not having to worry about going to a video specific place to see the content, like a YouTube or a Vimeo to get your content, but you're focusing on the things you're interested in, your subjects. You have your own subjects, you've organized the subjects the way you want. We'll present the content to you from all these different content types, not just, blogging or short form content or video or podcasts. They can all be consolidated. So there's lots of room for either partnerships with existing players or just to scale out our own network to support these other content types really, really easily. And the other part is right now, narrative is only English. So we're English only. We're trying to make sure that you really understand the content, because everybody could rate the content as well in terms of quality and even age rating. So trying to make sure that as this member governed system, we really have the tools in place so you understand the quality of the content you're consuming too, and you can control that on your own. So right now we're only English, but we plan to spawn this off into other languages as well. So once we get the English model perfected and we've got all the tools in place, we can create a Spanish version, we can create a French version, a Chinese version, Japanese version, any major language. And the nice thing is, you'll need to have whole new sets of niches for all these languages. So in terms of the revenue opportunities and the, not just in terms of the niches themselves, but advertising as well, it really scales quite well over time. So for right now, it's all about focusing, make sure we get these pieces in place, we get the model really perfected. We didn't even talk about reputation, which is a huge part of our system. Trying to make sure that we have a reputation model that really works, so people really understand kind of the quality of the people using it as well. Once that's all done, we can really take it onto the next level in terms of other content types and other markets.
That's fantastic. Well, Ted, Rosemary, I want to thank both of you for all your time today. Before we do sign off, is there anything else you want to tell potential investors who might be on the fence, or anything that we didn't touch upon?
No, I think that, you know, we're on a crazy ride, and we're definitely looking for people who believe in transparency and trust and doing things the right way in terms of content and consumer content publishing. I think there are a lot of us out there who are ready for a breath of fresh air in this space. So I would just invite you to come check us out.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think anybody interested in this platform is going to be someone who really is looking for the next big thing in terms of an idea, right? And that we have really big ideas around member governance, which we think are unique. We have really big potential in terms of the scope of the platform. And we're executing this based on the experience that we have. Again, 20 years experience building enterprise class platforms. So we also know what we're doing from a technology standpoint as well. So we think we're uniquely qualified to build this network and have it succeed.
Excellent. Thank you both very much once again. And for anyone out there, you can head over to the WeFunder campaign page to check out the deal terms. But thank you both, and I'll talk to you later.
Thank you, Brian.
Bye.